We are at Goodnestone Park, which is, as the crow flies, a mere 4 miles from where I live. Jane Austen was in the same vicinity as where I live. It blows the mind, to be quite honest. But what do you think of that lovely Georgian manor house? Isn't that spectacular? This property was owned by Sir Brooke Bridges II, who was the father of Elizabeth Brooks, and subsequently the wife of Jane's brother, Edward Austen Knight, or Edwin Knight Austen. I think I'll just call him Edward Knight, shall I? But yeah, it's believed that when Edward married Elizabeth in 1791, Jane made her first trip here, and because Sir Brooke Bridges lived here with his wife, there's a house down the lane. It's separated only by a lane, I might add, Rowling House, which I will visit shortly. Now, there's a spectacular garden here, and I don't know if it's open, but I'm going to see if it is. But if it is open, I'll take you in, because it would be fascinating to have a look and see where Jane herself would have taken a turn around the garden. It's really, really lovely. The house is private. It's not a National Trust place or anything like that, so you can't go in. I did contact them. I did say, send them an email. Could I go in, please? No response whatsoever. That's the way of the world, isn't it? I do love it. I love how it's situated around these gardens and this park. And actually there is a walkway that goes around the whole estate called the Serpentine Walk. And you can actually walk the whole perimeter. So yeah, if we can get into the garden, if it's open, we're going to take a look. I'll just give you a little sort of preamble. Then we'll go over to Rowlings, which is separated only by a lane. Imagine that, Lizzie. Goodnestone Park Gardens, please pay garden admission using honesty box in the notice board. Gardens are open 10 till 4, last admission 3. So we can actually go in, which is great. This is the honesty box. And normally you will come in there, postcards and pamphlets. Maybe we won't do the whole garden, but at least I can just come in here and have a look a bit of the house. Yeah, I am going to go in. You can't go into the main house. And I don't really know why I'm walking up here. Because although Sir Brooke Bridges owned it, and it was the family home of his daughter Elizabeth, who Edward Knight would have married, it's only that Jane would have visited here and attended balls, that kind of stuff. And in fact, she wrote in some of her letters about frequent visits here and then walking back up the lane. I say walking up the lane, maybe they went up through with carriages. But in her letters she talks about going back to Rowlings after being here at Goodnestone Park. Can you imagine Jane walking up the stairs and going into the garden for a walk? Yeah, it looks rather splendorous. I feel cheeky because it says house guests only beyond this point. Now, when I first visited here, I did inquire about going in the house, and I was told, no, it's private, you can't go in, it's rented out. And when they do things like the Open, the golf tournament, which is held at Sandwich, you get the famous golfers staying here. So, and I guess also pop stars and the like would come here if they've got local gigs. Comes into the garden. I could imagine Jane walking in this garden. It's very well maintained. And you have the church at the end, where I guess she would have worshipped as well, not just at Godmersham, although Edward would have lived at Godmersham and that was their whole estate. But before his adoptive father died, and he inherited the estate. He lived at Rowlings, just up the road, which I mentioned earlier. So while Elizabeth visited at Rowlings, she would have attended worship at the church. So I think what I'm going to do is go up the lane which separates the manor from Rowlings. I've been playing with that in my head. Separated only by a lane. Imagine that, Lizzie. I think I might have to visit this place on my Tudor Travels channel, just so that I can do a full exploration, because it is rather quaint and lovely. Yeah, let's go over to Rowlings and see what we can see there. So coming out from the church, just along the main road, that is the lane that Jane would have taken to walk up through the woods to go to Rowlings. Might as well give you the drive cam. Because if she was going on horseback, she would have come down this way. Rowlings is actually just up the hill up there. So let's speed this up and get us to the church on time. No, not the church, Rowlings. So the Rowling house is just in the trees at the back there. So I've got to find myself a convenient place to stop, because it is private and I won't be able to go in. But I might have to just abandon the car here and walk up the lane. Car cam. Let's have a look over the hedge. That's the only view I can afford of Rowling's rather splendourous house, and that's where Edward and Elizabeth stayed. So of course when Jane visited, she was visiting there. I think she came with Cassandra as well, actually. You can imagine the country walk that Jane would have done, probably straight across as the crow flies, because the country lane takes us back down there towards Goodnestone, behind the trees where we came from. Now the fascinating aspect of Rowlings is kind of like the thing that ties it all together, in terms of what I was saying, that I've still got Pride and Prejudice on my brain. Jane is thought to have started her writings of first impressions while she was here at Rowlings and also at Goodnestone Park. So of course Goodnestone Park would have given her, even though Godmersham was more frequently visited once Edward inherited it, while she was here at Goodnestone, she got the whole premise of the Darcys and the Bingleys and all of that kind of stuff. To the point that you take the W away from Rowling, or Rowling House, and you get Rosings House, Rosings Park, Rowling House. So it must have given us some inspiration for Pride and Prejudice. It's a lovely, lovely house. Just can't go in. It's private.